everyone. My name is Lattifa. I am a celebrity ghostwriter. I am a full service publisher, and I take writers from blank page to published author. I empower voices through books, and I'm proud to say that I've authored about 16 books myself. Today, I'm joined by another industry professional in the publishing world, and we're just going to discuss the essential aspects of becoming an author in the year of 2023.
Yes.
Welcome.
Hi. I'm so grateful that Lattifa took this opportunity with me, took the chance to sit down with me. Like she said, we are both in the industry, and to be connected as women of color who are doing what we do, offering the opportunity for publishing to people and also kind of curating people's stories through ghostwriting. It was so cool to just be connected to her. And I think that this is such an important conversation for us to have around how to become a writer, the path to becoming published, but also just kind of things that are happening in our industry that we take notice of and that kind of we impact through what we do. So I'm so grateful so much for you joining me.
Absolutely. I'm grateful as well. I'm grateful to be here. So just tell us a little bit about yourself and how long have you been in the industry?
So I always tell people that I'm a secret ghostwriter because I did what I do for 10 years without ever even telling anybody. And the way that I actually got connected to do it professionally and to take myself more serious was through a friend who had a publishing company. And I knew she had a publishing company and just never told her about my skill set. Didn't even tell her that I had an English degree from Howard University. And we were all together at brunch with mutual friends. And one of my friends was like, she has an English degree and she's just not telling you. And she was like, seriously? Like, I need your help. She's like, this is crazy. You've been sitting right here this whole time not telling me. And so then what we ended up doing was I sent her over a sample and she was like, this is ridiculous, Markeyla. I could have used you for years now. So I started working with her and it just forced me to take my craft more serious because although I had been doing editing work, helping people curate their books, I hadn't actually sat down and called myself a ghostwriter or called myself an editor. I was just saying that that's what I would do, right? And so I secretly made thousands of dollars, not telling people that I was even doing this thing. And at the top of this year, I really realized like if I don't tell people what I can do and how I can help them, then I won't be able to really help the people who God has called me to. So that's how I got my start. It was like a lot of friends, a lot of family members, a lot of people that are connected to me asking me to help them on their journey. And then working with my close friend. And then realizing that, hey, other people need me to step out of the shadow.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Well, I'm glad you found your strength, your courage. You found the boldness to just let people know, like, hey, I'm a ghostwriter because if we don't tell anyone, they
they
won't
won't,
know.
they won't know. And you know what? It's so funny because I worked on some projects and I realized that like there were other aspects of my skill set that my authors needed. And so at the top of the year, I was like, okay, well, how do I run these things that I have? Because I had a coaching business that was around building confidence. And it just came to me that like, hey, you already do confidence coaching with your writing clients. So
Right.
it dawned on me that like if I don't really step out full throatedly to tell people that I can help them in this way, then I'm not practicing what I preach, right? You can't be a confidence coach who doesn't have the confidence to go and tell people what you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you are a phenomenal confidence coach. I mean, you inspire me from ghostwriter to ghostwriter. I'm inspired. So I'm just
Yay.
grateful. Absolutely. So was there anything in particular that kind of, sparked your passion to start writing in general?
So I was like that little girl who walked around with a book and like never really looked up. Like I was that nerdy girl that like just had the book all the time, spent all my time reading as a kid. So I always knew I have two kids, y'all. So look, they're in the background, and we're going to talk about how me being doing the things that I do gives me the opportunity to have my kids in the background. But we're not gonna
Amen.
stop it no more because listen, they back there, and they gonna live their best life. She back there
Okay.
screaming about Applejack. So look, we're just gonna keep pushing on. But as a little kid, I had a passion for writing, and I started a magazine in college. And when I started my magazine in college, it made me realize like there's a whole part of the world that I can reach just through my words. And that was like basically the door opener for me to realize that being an author, being a writer is not just something to do as a side hustle. And my magazine grew tremendously. We had 25,000 monthly visitors by the time I shut it down. And I shut it down because it just wasn't matching the ethos of my life, but not because it wasn't successful. And so the success I had as a writer or as a business owner in the publishing industry, in the magazine industry, made me realize like there's way more to this than, doing it as a side hustle, doing it on the side at home. But I don't think I really realized what I could offer to people. It took me time to really curate what my offer was and to get clarity on how I could bring together all of my talents and skills. And now that I have it, right, it's kind of like there's no stopping me. There's not a lot that's in my way because there's so much clarity around the experiences that I had, all of the business acumen that I built in, over the course of the years, but also all of the writing skills that I had as I was doing my secret business, having my secret business.
Awesome. I love to hear it. Now, with all of the changes that are happening, in the writing industry,
Yes.
Why do you think writing books is still a great opportunity in the new digital age?
So as I was just talking about, right? Like my two kids are eating their cereal in the front room. And although I'm doing this opportunity, right, we're doing this interview and I'm getting a chance to sit in a very polished way, you can be in the comfort of your home, okay? Doing your thing.
Be yourself.
Right. And for me, I think that like we're in an era where people don't like their jobs, right? Like there's a lot of viral pages on TikTok, on Instagram about how people just hate their jobs. And if you can really build yourself out as a confident author who goes and steps out there and gets her clients and sells her book or sells your book, right? Then the opportunity of an author is endless, because you can turn your book into a speaking career. You can turn your book into a coaching career. You can turn your book into consulting. Like you can do so many things from just a book. And so I think that in the digital age where people are assuming that you don't have to do the old school thing of writing a book, the old school thing of writing a book has always worked to create doors for people. And it's always worked for people who had the gumption to go and take their book and put it on their feet and walk it around to make a lot of money. You just got to have the gumption, right? you just have to have the cojones, as they say, to actually get out there and sell your book. But if you can master that, then book writing in the digital era is a huge opportunity. And there's like so many ways to write a book, right? There's so many ways to sell your book now versus in the past, you would literally have to go to fairs and like have your stacks of books with you. Now you can do Kindle Vella, you can do Kindle KDP, it's Ingram Spark. Like there's all of these places, that you can go put your book there and your book can span across the world. So it's a great opportunity, number one, to make money, but it's also a great opportunity for you to create the life you want. You just have to be willing to do the work because being an author is not easy, right? Like it is not like you're going to sit at home and do nothing, right? So if you want the remote job that you can sit at home on your headset and not do anything, that's not what being an author is going to do for you.
Yeah. Don't come over here.
Right. Because over here, you're going to have to grind, right? You're going to have interviews like this with your kids in the background. Like, you're going to have to do what you got to do. But if you can do it with a sense of confidence, then you'll have a lot of success and you'll be able to make the life that you want to make for sure.
Absolutely. And I so agree with that. And I'm just delighted that you're a confidence coach because, I mean, you have to have that confidence. You really do. You have to have that confidence.
Yeah. And you know what? And I didn't even think that like being a confidence coach was something I could put with my writing, right? It just didn't even, and I found that there are other people who do what I do, who are also confidence coaches who use book writing. And so when I found that, I was like, that's crazy. But it's so true that authors need confidence in order to have any level of success. And so it makes sense that God put me in the position, but also that there are other people out in the world utilizing this process of writing a book to actually institute confidence in people as a whole, for sure.
Absolutely. Now, where can our listeners find you?
So I'm on Instagram at I am Markeyla, and my program is on Instagram at the S.N.A.P.P method, and that's SNAP with 2 P's. And it's an acronym, and we'll talk more about it. But I'm also on Facebook as well. It's at I am Markeyla. You can find me on my website at The Faith Edit. That is the name of my ghostwriting and editing business. It's called The Faith Edit. So if you go to that website, you can get access to all of my things, my program. Also, I have a workbook that is a part of a guide. Like it's a step-by-step walk-through online course where you can get access to my coaching for, a fraction of what it costs if you do it in other portions of my program.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, what do you think that it really takes to be a successful author nowadays?
Confidence, right? Like we just confidence. And audacity. So I see those things as two different things. Confidence says I can stand up in front of you and not lose myself. I can stand up in front of you and maintain the integrity of my identity. But audacity says, and not only am I going to stand in front of you and maintain my integrity, I'm going to ask you for things, or I'm going to, call you to action. Audacity takes confidence to the next level because it challenges people, right? When you come in front of somebody who has audacity, you're typically going to be asked to do something. And so as authors, we have to have the confidence to tell our stories, the confidence to sit down and believe in ourselves, right? Because sometimes as you're writing, it's like, who's even going to read this, right? Why would I even do this, right? So you got to have the confidence to actually write the book. But then when you're done writing the book, you got to go have some audacity and go ask people to pay for it, right? You got to have audacity to pitch places to sell your book. You have to have audacity to pitch places to let you speak about what's in your book. And that's why there are so many authors who write a book and then nothing happens with it. Right. And one of the reasons why I was called to action to do this business is because I was working with people who have fantastic books. Like, oh my God, everybody needs to read this. But nothing was happening with it. It was cricket. And when I evaluated it, it wasn't because their author wasn't correct. It wasn't because something was wrong. It was 100% because they didn't have the audacity to go make people pay for it. So in this era, in the TikTok era, in the Instagram era, where like people are all over the place and you can build a million followers overnight. Unfortunately, that does not automatically transition to book readers, right? So you'll have a bunch of followers, but if you're not asking those followers to purchase your book every day, reminding your followers every day, hey, I wrote a book, it doesn't matter. And so I've learned that like you can have a bunch of followers, you can have a whole lot of people that look up to you. You can even have a brick and mortar. And if you're not actually telling people to purchase that book, it'll just sit over there collecting dust. Collecting dust. And so in this era, especially if you want to make a career or a business out of your book, then, I tell my clients, put your book on your feet and walk around with it. Everywhere you go should know you got a book. Okay. You almost like, look, put it on a t-shirt. Everywhere you go, folks need to know, hey, I have this story. And that's the only way that you're going to get to the level of success. If people don't know that you have, like you said, if people didn't know that I offered confidence coaching and writing, then how could they be my client? If people don't know that you have this fantastic story, then how can they purchase it? How can they read it? You know, you got to be confident and audacious for sure.
I love that. I love it. And that is so spot on. That's so spot on. I'm telling you, if y'all need that confidence or the audacity, please, please reach out to the Faith
Yes.
Because
that's
want to know. Go for
no,
it.
I'm sorry. No, I was just saying that, like, for me, if you leave my program and you don't do anything with your book, but you figure out how to have audacity for a business or audacity for your calling or whatever else God has you doing, then I've done my job. Right? You know, it's like, cause it's not really about the book. The book is the tool. But if you leave with like, hey, you know, this book is great. Here's my book. But actually, I figured out, because I wrote this book, I figured out what I really should be doing. I figured out my real purpose. And now I can go do that without any fear. Then that's my jam. That's my secret sauce.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I tell people, it's going to be a whole lot of who she thinks she is in 2023 and beyond, because I have the audacity, okay? Yes. So can you tell us a little bit more about your program and what the S.N.A.P.P with 2 P's, okay? What does that stand for?
Yes. So to help people build this confidence and this audacity, because I saw this issue with authors who were writing books and not selling books, I realized that I needed to kind of bring the other missing pieces to the table. So in my program, it's a 6-month program where I allow people to come into themselves. And I do that through a number of different ways. We do confidence coaching, we do marketing training, publishing training. So you can come into my program with nothing, no book idea, really no idea of what you should even write your book about. And you will leave my program not only with the actual book, but with the resources to actually have it published, either by doing it yourself, or I'll teach you how to connect with other publishing companies that can actually publish your book for you. And then you'll also have everything that you need. And you should, by the time you leave our program, if you're following the program, already have your first clients, have your first places where you're going to go and sell your book and talk about your book and promote your book. And so those 6 months are like a massive boot camp, of course. Y'all know how it is. When you're in the middle of something, everything in its mama. Like what?
Keep it moving.
So yeah, over the 6 months, not only do my clients get access to, the confidence, the actual writing process, the book, but I'm an editor, so I'll do basic edits. And if you're actually doing one-on-one coaching with me, then I'll do, developmental edits where I actually will go through your book, tell you, hey, this is what you need to work on with your book, and actually help you figure out whatever holes need to be filled and things like that. And so once I realized that, like, I had this really full offer for everyone, I was like, how do I make sure that I get it connected to the people who I need to get it connected to? Because I wanted to make sure that I accomplished this audacious goal that God gave me. So my goal for the year is to help 50 women write a book. And in order to do that, like, because in my mind, I was like, that's crazy. I've never worked with more than like 12 authors a year. So it was like 50 women is like, Lord, that's a lot. But I'm gonna do it through this group program called the Virtual Writing Residency. And through my writing residency, I give women access to my whole program for half the cost that I do it when you're doing one-on-one coaching. And on top of getting access to my program, you also just get access to some of the industry professionals that I work with to help give resources to my clients. So I have a speaker coach who's coming to the program to actually teach women how to speak, right? To get their first speech written. And so there's just all of these really juicy resources that I offer in my program. And it aligns with my acronym, which is the S.N.A.P.P with 2 P's, right? So the S.N.A.P.P stands for Search, Nourish, Affirm, Polish, and Publish. And in the polish section, we also pray. Because I believe that when you build your confidence on faith, when you add your faith and your driving force to what you do, then you gain an undeniable sense of like identity. And I think that confidence really has a lot to do with identity. And
Oh,
especially for women of color, like even if we are not necessarily quote unquote Christian, there's a lot of proof through statistics and research that all of us have this kind of driving force that pushes us forward, and it is connected to our belief in something higher than ourselves. And so I teach my clients how to leverage prayer in the process of becoming an entrepreneur, because the reality is there are going to be times when you're going to be having to figure it out, and it's not gonna be nobody with you, right? You're not gonna
right,
call your coach, you're not gonna call your friends, because your friends not gonna understand what the heck to tell you. But
right.
if I can teach you how to tap into communication with your higher sense of and with God, then as you're doing all of the stuff that you have to do to be an entrepreneur, and when you are hit at the rafters, which you will be, you'll have like a full picture of how to deal with everything that comes your way. So the polish month is also my pray month. Because I teach people how to polish themselves in a sense of building their resilience. They build their resilience also through, learning how to speak, build your resilience, and also learning how to present yourself. How do I look well on interviews, or look polished when I go out in public? But then in the backhand side, how do I polish myself so that when things get crazy,
Okay.
I know how to deal with it, right? And that acronym came as I was doing my confidence work and really trying to figure out what people need. And I think that we need to learn how to search for our truth, how to search for inspiration. You can't call yourself a writer if you're not going to research. You have to be a reader in order to be a writer. And so I teach people how to research and read in my program, because too many of us are calling ourselves want to be experts and we don't know nothing.
Nothing.
So
Okay.
we start there, and then we nourish ourselves, we nourish our ideas, we nourish this understanding that people need us. And we do that through all kinds of juicy things, visualizations, mirror meditations. And that's like the deep confidence, right? Like, right? That's the stuff that's like, oh, snap, she really is going to force me to be a better person, because she's forcing me to nourish myself, to take care of myself and love on
Right.
myself. And then the affirm portion of my program is just about affirming that there is a need for you, right? So niche location and putting yourself in the room where your clients are. And like I said, polish has to do with pray. And we do a lot of work, like I said, to polish your presence and to build you so that you can be confident and actually stand in front of people. And then we push go in the last month, and we say publish. And, as you know, publishing is not like you click a button and then it's done. Like,
Oh no.
you have to launch your book. You have to actually publish your book. And so I
Absolutely.
teach people how to do that and to do that well. In this first cohort, I'm so excited because the way that we're helping our clients launch is that we're launching a podcast. And so each of my clients will get an opportunity to tell their story on a podcast. And I'll give them that first experience, right, of how to do press, because I will give them that first opportunity. And so one of my friends, as I was just laying out all of the things that we do, and she's an ad agency executive, and she was like, you know what, Markeyla, like, you really are giving women the opportunity to get their start as authors. She's like you're literally opening the door, but also giving them everything that they need to walk through it. And I was like, I hadn't even seen it like that. But that
Right.
really is what my program is for. And that's what I believe the S.N.A.P. method stands for. Is I kind of snap people into their purpose. I snap people out of confusion and chaos. I snap women into the purpose and the place that they should be. But also I give them an opportunity to kind of snap into control over their lives and to change their lives in a snap, right? So there's all these little snaps. Like, I could go on for the
Listen,
day.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Yes.
I'm here for the SNAP method, honey. Okay. It is the SNAP method for me. Now, what exactly is a virtual writing residency and how does that work?
So a writing residency is when people choose to go and purchase space or a boarding somewhere beautiful in order to get the inspiration that they need to write. They have writing residencies for 2 days, and I've seen a writing residency that lasted for an entire year, where the writer had to come with like $40,000 to $50,000 to actually have somewhere to board for the year. But also they got all of these wonderful resources, right? So yes, it is somewhere to live, but it is also somewhere where you get a consistent amount of resources to help you on your journey as a writer. So a virtual writing residency is the same thing, but it's in the virtual space. And the reason why I decided to do a virtual writing residency instead of calling it all of these other things is because I really have created a space for women to build out their career as an author. We have a virtual office that we do all of our writing sessions in once a week. There is a lot of juicy digital spaces that my authors will work in. And to be honest, if you're a woman like me with two dang on kids in the background, you cannot pick up and go somewhere, right? Right. So because I do have all of my responsibilities here in my home, I don't have the opportunity to pick up and go. And I wanted to give women who were really ready to change their lives, women who were really ready to create income for themselves, an opportunity to do so right in the comfort of their home, right with their kids in the background being extremely loud.
Right.
And also, like I said, it's about the resources, right? So yes, I myself am a resource. I'm an editor and I offer those things, but my clients as well will get access to like a ginormous force of women who have their back. And I can honestly say it's because I have that ginormous force of women who have my back. Women like Lattifa who will just come on, right? Like come into the room and be a massive support for you. And it's that type of resource base that I've been given the opportunity to have access to that I want to share with emerging authors because they need it. You really do.
Absolutely. That's the truth. Now, when you think about the low number of women of color that are making it big in the publishing industry, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
I think that it's just lack of assurance, right? Like most women of color are like the source for their family. So we're the ones who have to take care of our aunties, sisters, cousins, and them. And so a lot of times it's hard for us to take on risks that we don't have assurance about. And although there's a lot of push in entrepreneurship for people of color, there is this kind of assurance that like e-commerce can do it, right? Like trucking can do it. Like you can change your life if you just go somewhere and get a hair bundle business, right? And so there's all of these other industries that I think people of color have seen success with. And so we believe that that's the route for us. But there is a lot of success that people outside of our culture are having in the writing industry. I was watching a YouTube video of this young lady who she has a romance novel publishing company, and all she does is goes and purchases ghost-written novels, romance novels, and she made $160,000 in a year. And so right, like what? So for me, it's like first I have to prove to women that they can do it. Right. And then once I prove to you that you can do it, I believe that God will open the door for them to see all the things that they can do with this belief. And I think that more women of color have to believe that we can have success in the writing industry for us to even try it. Now, I grew up not in a household where like you had to be a doctor or a lawyer. Like I didn't have that kind of family situation, but there were like surefire no careers, right? Like you can't be a singer, ain't no money in that. You're not gonna be an athlete, that's not realistic, right? Because think about how few people become athletes, right? And my mom and my dad is a creative, so he was like, you can do whatever you want to do, baby girl. But my mom was like, listen, you're gonna need a job, okay? Do the writing, yeah.
You gotta work.
But like, let's go get a job, right?
That's cute.
And so how many of us, right, kind of we're given this sense of confusion and chaos when it comes down to our talent in writing. Or,
Right.
you know, like I said, we just don't see it. And the people that we do see having success, they are in their senior years, their sunset years. We're thinking like Toni Morrison. Like when I saw Toni Morrison as an author, I didn't necessarily see her as like a marker for success for me. Because yeah, she has all of these prizes. She has a lot of great things that happen in her career as an author, even. But she was like 40 years older than me, right? So I didn't see, there's not a lot of young authors who are talking about this process of gaining freedom through writing a book. And I think that more of us who are in this industry have to be a little bit more on the forefront about the opportunities, right? Because like I said, you're not going to write your book and then it magically sells on its own. That's not how that works. But there are so many things that you can do from the launching pad of a book. And I think more women who have businesses, right, should consider writing a book. Because if you already have a business to lead people to, then you can use your book as a lead magnet. I took a webinar where a guy was literally talking about marketing for your business through a book. And I mean, there's so many opportunities and options that you can take on. That I just think that more women of color need to take the opportunity. And then again, I keep harping on it because my kids are truly in the background. But I know for me, there are other careers that I had, right? I just ended my last year as a teacher ever, right? And I found myself very frustrated with the amount of time I spent outside of my home. Because during the pandemic, I was a contact tracer. So I was at home and I was able to do more things in my home to make my home a nicer, safer place. Whereas when I went back out of the building to actually go to work, I found myself just at odds with time all the time, like all the time. And I don't want to live like that. You know, like the life that I want to have control over my time, and being an author gives me that chance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is the truth. And also, I mean, women, especially women of color, like we said previously, you have to have that confidence. You have to have that audacity in addition to everything else that she said. In the next 5 years, though, what changes would you like to see in the publishing industry?
I would love to see more people of color taking advantage of the array of opportunities in the writing industry. I would love to see an industry that is more diverse, right? So I'm caping for Black and brown women because I am a Black and brown woman, but like the world is filled with people. I was looking at a statistic and it was saying like less than 1% of authors are American Indian. And that just tore my heart, you know? Because everybody has a story. There's not a single person who couldn't write a book. And so I would love to see just a level of diversity. I would also love to see a lot more transparency in who's writing stories and who's having success. Because the statistics are kind of all over the place, right? Like, you know, oh, we found this and we found that. And the reality is a lot of people are utilizing their book for something else. So I would love to see more transparency about the incomes of authors and how much money people can really make from a book, right? Not necessarily from the book itself, but from all the opportunities that the books bring. And then the last thing that I would love to see, and this is just me being selfish, right? But I would love to see an army of women who came from my program, who can say this program gave them their step into authorship. And I would love for there to be kind of like this understanding, this global understanding that when women get together in this writing residency, when women gather in this way, that they can change their lives, but also get connected to this like amazing force of women who have decided that they're going to go in the world with audacity. So yeah, I mean, again, like the last one, it was absolutely me being selfish, but I would love to see that there is just this army of women who, when you ask them where they get their confidence from, they first say God, and then they say, and I was in this program with this girl who changed my life.
Two-piece. Now.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. And you know what? That's going to happen. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the confidence to do it. You have the skills. You have the knowledge. You have the platform, girl. You got it going on. I'm telling you, it's going to be a whole lot of who she thinks she is.
Exactly.
Listen, because when you are a child of God and when he gives you that confidence anyway, walk in it, you know?
Yeah.
God doesn't want us to be sitting on our talents and afraid of what he has given us. I remember talking to my spiritual advisor, and I was saying, I told her, I said, I'm scared of my anointing. And she was like, first of all, that's God's anointing. Okay. God gave it to you. Listen. Okay. Okay. Yes. So that got me together. And so I love a quick gathering in the spirit. Okay. So again, if you are a writer out there, if you're listening, you know, if you have dreams about writing, do it. You know, get in touch with Markeyla. Join the S.N.A.P.P program. I mean, it has so much in store for you guys. And like I tell everybody, it'll start out, you know, God will start out whispering to you, you know, it'll be a small whisper.
Yes.
The book. And then out of nowhere, he'll just start screaming. Like, write the book. Like, I told you to write the book. So,
writing.
Listen. Yeah. I'm telling you, you have to listen to that small, still voice. So, my last question for you, Markeyla, do you think it's important to open doors for more men to become authors? And why or why not?
So, I mean, you know, like confidence is not a gender thing. It is gender neutral. I know that I've been called to help women. And like you were saying, the call to writing starts as a whisper and then it grows into a scream, right? And I realized that like with any industry, as people gain success, right? Then other genders, the other genders are gonna want to join us, right? And so I think that other genders, because I realize there's like a whole other thing happening in the world other than just men and women, and I don't want to be offensive to other genders, but I think that the reason why women have had so much success in this industry is because we need this opportunity, right? We need to be able to sit at home, work on our business, have our kids screaming in the background. We need this because a lot of women, unfortunately, have been pushed out of their businesses because of the pandemic or just because of the struggle of getting a business to succeed, right? A lot of women are, you know, looking for places where they can get like commissioned, but also get salary that's commensurate with what they have as training. So I know even myself, I have all of these certifications and really struggle to get into the cybersecurity industry. And so I think that like while men should write books, if I can be honest, you know, it's like let us just have this one, y'all. Let us just have this industry. Not that men shouldn't write books. Men should write books because it is honestly a fantastic way to change your life. But I think that there are opportunities that women need. And I will say that authorship is an opportunity that women need. And I'm biased, but obviously, I don't think that men struggle to get as much of their authority or credibility the way that women do. And so I think that while all of us can write books, women absolutely should continue to lead this industry and we shouldn't feel ashamed about it. But we just need to get other races involved in this industry so that we can have a diverse showing of the world. But that's just me being biased. That's just me being biased.
Yeah, that's her, y'all. That's her.
It's just me, right? Listen, the artistry had nothing to do with that.
No, I do agree. I do agree. I mean, they're just, and not only that, I'm actually working on a book myself, because our daughters need to hear our stories, you know, and that's gonna be the main theme of the book, our daughters need to hear our stories. So
listen, that is a whole live, it's a whole interview in and of itself, right? Like,
yes.
I agree. Like, I think that there's just a unique opportunity that comes when women sit down and share their stories, whereas men don't necessarily need to kind of go through that emotional catharsis. Like, men have their way of managing things, and I'm not going to make generalizations, but for most men, they manage their emotions very differently than women. And so I think, like you said, us telling our stories, us having something to share with our super loud kids in the background, that type of stuff is really, it's really important, right? And it is also, it's how we gain a sense of identity. And I think that while men a lot of times will put their identity in things like, you know, that are just a little more straightforward, women, a lot of us have this like underbelly of our emotional scape that we don't even talk about. Like, that's completely private. So only us. We don't even tell our friends. And so giving ourselves that experience of release through a book is just, you know, it's so important. And I think that a lot of women need a level of a sense of accomplishment. Like, that's a lot of my clients are people who are extremely successful but just don't feel successful, right? They've done a lot of amazing things, but they don't have a sense of accomplishment, and then writing their book helps them have that. So again, I'm biased, but I think every woman should write this. I think every woman should tell their story.
I agree. I agree. Well, I appreciate you. I mean, keep fighting a good fight. You know, we're looking forward to seeing what all comes from the S.N.A.P. method. And is there anything that you just want to leave our listeners with before we go?
Nothing except like find your space, right? Find your lane and sit in it and get busy in it. Like, Lattifa and I have come together, and I'm telling y'all, we got this together real quick. We did it in such a beautiful fashion, but I really believe the reason why we were able to kind of link arms this way is because both of us are in our lanes, right? So find your lane, find the place where you're supposed to be and thrive. And when you do that, you'll see that things will just flow from you, flow out of you. You'll have a sense of abundance because you're in your right place, doing your right thing at the right time, right? So I'm so grateful, Lattifa. Oh my gosh, you have no idea. You are such a godsend, and I'm so grateful that you took this opportunity, gave me some of your time today, because it's just a beautiful opportunity, a beautiful chance for us to sit down and talk about this amazing industry that has changed our lives so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like you said, I mean, when you ghostwrite full time, when you're full time, you can be flexible, you know, you can live the life that you dreamed of. It's not far out of your reach. So if you are listening to this, if you're working that job you hate, if you're tired of your 9 to 5, you know, just create your exit plan, you know, just think about the S.N.A.P. method. I mean, seriously, like, it can change your life. You know, one book changed my life. You know, I didn't, whenever I stopped working for corporate, I mean, I never had to look back. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful to God. And I'm grateful for you. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me. And again, my name is the Author Queen. You all can follow me on all socials, the Author Queen, not hard to find. And I look forward to connecting with everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.